stop. Today we're gonna be playing Fortnite Trio, maybe. We were supposed to play trios, but Jason's about to join. Oh God. So we have the new snowfall skin right here, and it is called the Prisoner. That's what it's called. I need to change the title. And we're gonna be using the padlock back bling because he's the prisoner. And we're gonna be just using like locked up stuff.
Guys, what if I was
to break out?
What if I was marching along?
Or no, he wouldn't. No, he would not. He would have to use the Scorcher to break out. Then to get away, maybe he had to use some type of let me see. Crossfire, like some type of gold something. I'm gonna use high octane. I think this is one off. Yeah, downshift. Nice. And then to get away, he must have used some type of like chain because he's cold. So he's gonna use them.
No, I never cut him out.
So let's play some trios. Ask everybody into the party. Why did Scummit leave?
Let's do the vocal test and we will definitively find out.
On a coat on, some two pairs of long johns, jeans, and 2 hats.
Oh, well, at least I know you was good and warm. You got one more day for the coat. It's supposed to get a little warmer Saturday.
Okay.
How was your day?
Good.
You can call me sometime. I am your grandmother, you know.
I know.
Wait,
Is that your mom? No.
Button on me and all that stuff. You don't supposed to be hitting no damn button on me. I ain't playing. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to at least answer and say, TT, can I call you back or something?
Okay.
You just playing the game?
I do that on my Wi-Fi. Wait, Carter, I was about to ready up. Yep. I've been in school.
Are you out of school tomorrow?
I think so. I think so. My mom informed me to go. It was a little bit cold.
Well, you won't have to tolerate the cold. You seem like you were dressed for it today.
Yeah, it was hot.
Lala dressed for?
Yep. Do we have to do trios, Carter?
She's probably like, what is going on? You know we're going to do trigger you this year, don't you?
Yeah, I know.
You excited about that?
Yep.
I have fun.
I was Rico Coupon. I was Rico Coupon.
He is coming.
Oh.
He be finished school in March.
Don't he gotta get a job as soon as he get out?
Or so they're being accused of in their song Kids of the Future.
That was watching.
If you play that part backwards, you get this satanic.
What's up? So we went into Middle Temple playing trios with the new padlock skin.
That doesn't say of the future at all. So did the Jonas Brothers intentionally hide satanic messages in their song? Nuh-uh. Maybe some subliminal messages about discus, but that's about it. Yes. Nothing like a good cup of Joe. And by Joe, I mean flavored water.
I'm just watching a video.
So next up, we have the king of pop, Michael Jackson. Some people say that in his song Beat It, apparently Michael Jackson has something against Superman. And now if you play this clip backwards,
Hold on.
him by name in a video, but we got Justin Bieber.
Abbott family stumbled their way onto the creature's greatest weakness by accident made me think that there must be other, more reliable ways to beat the creatures besides depending on dumb luck alone. With much thought and research, I discovered that there are exactly 4 alternative solutions. But before we can get into those possible solutions, we must first go over the specific conditions that the Abbott family are under so that we may plan around them. The Abbott family live on a big farm, and though they never specify where in the US the farm is located, we can tell from the opening scene that the farm is located within walking distance of the small town of Little Falls in New York State, at which A Quiet Place was actually filmed. We also know that they live near a creek and a waterfall, so they have a clean source of water. The river is no doubt one of the many subsidiaries of the Mohawk River, if not the Mohawk River itself, which flows through Little
So the
Falls
cake, like
and
the cake comes up.
in the area.
We have
Food
no
is not an issue
action.
for the Abbott family, as they live
Bad,
on a
so
corn
that's
farm
why
and hunt fish.
I
And
wanted
we're
to
shown
write
that they
trio
survive an
solos.
entire year, including the winter months in New York State, without starving. A year later, they all look to be healthy, so food and water is not something they need to consider so long as they don't change their location. I'm very curious as to how they survive the winter months, considering that walking around in the snow is, well, loud walking. But the most amazing feat is how they were able to plant seeds, water, and harvest the corn and fill the grain silo without making any noise. Seriously, not enough credit has been given to them for managing to grow this cornfield. Do you know how loud walking through a fucking cornfield is? Especially how fucking clumsy this family is. They can't seem to go 20 minutes without knocking shit over or stepping on the most nonsensical nail in the history of all nails. Like, seriously, what the fuck is this nail? Why on God's green earth would anyone hammer a nail upwards into a set of steps? But somehow they are able to tend to the farm without making any noise. Probably as it may be, we can move forward knowing that food and water are not determined factors in this scenario. They also have solar panels which seem to provide them with as much electricity as they need. We know that there are 3 creatures within earshot of the farm, or at least Lee thinks there are. This is confirmed at the end of the film when they successfully managed to kill them. With surveillance cameras, there are only 2 more creatures who heard the gunshot and come to investigate, meaning that there were consistently 3 creatures on the farm at all times. The monsters themselves are described as virtually indestructible with an incredibly keen sense of hearing. They attack with sound of hearing, and their only evident weakness is high-frequency sound. They don't appear to be particularly intelligent and simply attack things that make sound, including objects. In a later scene, the creature attacks the truck instead of attacking the things inside the truck that are actually making the sound. They are incredibly fast over land and adept swimmers, but they can't fly, which explains why bird populations continue to thrive. They are blind and seem to use some kind of crude echolocation in order to navigate their surroundings. Interestingly, despite their echolocation, they don't seem to be able to detect movement. There are several scenes of people moving directly in front of a creature but is not able to detect them. And perhaps most bafflingly, the creatures are not attracted to the sounds made by other creatures. When Reagan's cortical implant sets off a high-frequency sound in the grain silo, the creature busts a hole in the metal wall to escape, making a ton of noise on the way out, and yet no other creatures come to investigate. According to these newspaper clippings, the entire planet has been overrun by these creatures, and the US military has been soundly defeated. The creatures first landed in Mexico on a meteorite and quickly spread across the globe. This means that there is no one to contact for help. The Abbott family must solve the problem on their own unless they want to enlist the help of their most immediate neighbors. It also means that there is no place they can travel to which will be any safer than where they are right now.
Gosh.
Also, can we talk for a second about how hilarious it is that the message to stay silent is written on fucking newspapers?
Guess we're going solo squads then.
One possible solution might have been to wait until the creatures starve to death due to a lack of surviving prey, but they don't actually seem to eat the things they hunt. When Marcus and Lee encounter the body of a woman in the forest, We see that the body is very much still intact. It has not been eaten. And although this adorable raccoon is killed, it isn't eaten so much as it is smashed into a fine paste. The point is, they don't appear to be hunting the sources of noise for food. We don't know how they sustain themselves, so trying to wait until they starve won't be a reliable option. Now that we have outlined the conditions of the situation, we can start to consider how to beat the creatures from a quiet place. One way to make yourself at least safe at home would be to soundproof your house. The Abbott family had been working on this in some capacity already. When Lee and Evelyn elude one of the creatures by entering the basement of the barn, the ceiling of the basement is covered in burlap sacks, blankets, and pillows, which offer a reasonable amount of soundproofing. And since the basement is underground, the ceiling is the only surface they need to worry about. Mattresses are also a good DIY solution for replacing the door, which could be loud if it fell closed or if the hinges became rusty. One would assume that over the years, Lee and Evelyn would be able to soundproof their entire living spaces. Soundproofing a house isn't actually all that difficult, nor are the materials all that hard to come by. Soundproofing can be done by putting up heavy blankets along the walls. Bookcases filled with books are also incredibly Even layers of cardboard are a great way to soundproof a space. The doors can be replaced by mattresses, or a simple door sleeve can do the job, though the door itself may still make some noise when open. You shouldn't need to worry about stepping on tricky spots of the floor anymore, because the surrounding walls and ceiling of the space are soundproofed. If they were able to find a music or recording store in the surrounding towns, they could even use dedicated acoustic wedges. With a soundproof living space, the family could at least let their guard down indoors. While this doesn't exactly beat the creatures per se, it would dramatically improve their living situation and would prevent them from having to worry about their unusually uncoordinated children. Another option would be to, as the newspaper suggests, live underground. But other than their already existing basement, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Abbott family. If they were to try to extend their basement or create a separate underground structure, I can think of no conceivable way to dig through hard sediment, bedrock, or stone without making any noise. It doesn't make sense for them to move to a different underground living situation either, because at the farm they have the nearby river and their crops for reliable sources of food and water. The largest drawback with soundproofing is that you would only ever be safe indoors, and that cornfield isn't going to harvest itself. Instead of trying to soundproof your home, it may make more sense to simply make sure that there are no monsters in the area when you actually do go outside or plan to make noise. Some of you kids out there who are with it have probably heard of drones. Some of you kids out there who are with it have probably heard of drones, otherwise known as the drones, to piss off the kind of people who love to be pissed off. If you know drones, you also know that drones are loud. And not only are they incredibly loud, they also have an incredibly long range. There are currently 4 different drones on the market that have a range of 7 kilometers. So we have an incredibly loud, remotely controlled flying machine with a range of 7 kilometers. Anyone thinking what I'm thinking?
Of course.
You get the creatures, and you get them to follow the drone. Very simply, you use the drone to lead the creatures away from the farm. First, you need some kind of silent little hidey hole for yourself, and then you start up the drone, let it hover just out of reach, wait for the surrounding creatures to show up, and then you fly it approximately 5 kilometers away. When the creatures are far enough away from the farm, you fly the drone straight up until it's high enough that the creatures can't hear it, and then you fly it back to the farm. And now that the creatures are 5 kilometers away, feel free to go about your daily life knowing that there are no creatures within earshot. Because Lee determined that there are only 3 of them in the area that are within earshot, as long as there are initially 3 creatures chasing the drone, we know that there won't be any left hanging out near the farm. Then, as often as necessary, maybe once every morning, you make the drone run to draw the creatures off the farm in order to spend the rest of the day going about your business. Now, there are some major drawbacks with this solution. First of all, you will have to procure a few drones from the surrounding towns, but that shouldn't be too difficult, as I imagine the number of people interested in drones has dropped significantly since the invasion of the sound monsters. Secondly, many of your drones are going to be destroyed. Though the creatures are unable to fly, they are incredibly fast and are capable climbers, so at some point they are probably going to catch the drone. This solution also depends on you being able to fly a drone without crashing it. But the largest problem with this solution is that we don't know enough about the creatures to completely predict how they'll behave in response to the drone. If they do chase it, as soon as it's out of earshot, they may just immediately head back to the farm again. Considering that Lee noted that there are only ever consistently 3 around the farm, it seems to indicate that the creatures have a certain amount of territory that they stick to. They may return to their territory after the drone is out of earshot. They may also start to ignore the drone once they realize it's not something they can catch. In fact, we don't even know for sure what their motivations are for attacking sources of noise. The sound of the drone traveling may also attract even more creatures to the area, making the problem even worse. So while the solution has promise, how long does it take them? The next possible solution is probably the most obvious, and I expect it caused many arguments among those who decide.
Are you? The guy has a shotgun. Guy has a shotgun. Oh my gosh.
Still doesn't notice them. Lee explains that because they're near a loud source of noise, the creatures won't be able to hear them over the sound of the river. Some of you are probably thinking, well, that makes sense. How could you hear a quiet sound when it's next to a loud one? In the real world, at least, just because the waterfall is louder than a person yelling doesn't mean that the yelling person will not be heard. It's generally true that you will not be able to hear a quiet sound such as a person humming if they're standing next to something incredibly loud like a fighter jet. This is known as signal masking. The sound of the fighter jet is masking the sound of the person humming. But signal masking is only effective in a certain range of pitch or frequency. If we change the frequency of the person humming so that it's significantly different than the frequency of the fighter jet, eventually we will be able to distinctly hear the person humming as well as the fighter jet, despite the fighter jet being much louder than the person humming. What this means for Lee and Marcus is that if they yell or scream or make any noise that is of a frequency significantly different than that of the waterfall, the creatures will still be able to hear them. It will also depend on their distance to the waterfall, the direction of the sound they're making, and where the monsters are in the vicinity. In the worst case scenario, the monsters are nearby, Lee and Marcus are yelling at a frequency significantly different than the waterfall, and they're yelling in the exact direction of the monsters. The issue gets even more complicated when you consider that different animals can have different frequency ranges, and they also perceive some frequencies to be louder than others. The movie suggested that the monsters are especially willing to receive higher frequency sounds to the point of it being painful or debilitating for them. All I'm trying to get at here is that in the real world, there's absolutely no guarantee that being near a waterfall or a river or any running water will mask the sound of someone yelling. There are multiple factors that contribute to signal masking other than simply how intense the noise is.
I'm talking.
Concerned with the logic that the film uses. So we will move forward with the assumption that the noise of running water will drown out other sounds of any frequency, even if it would not be properly masked in the real world. Because we have multiple examples from the film when signal masking should not be effective, but the creatures are still unable to hear the sounds they make. The flooded basement is particularly egregious because the creature is unable to pinpoint the sound of the high-frequency baby directly in front of it, but at the same time instantly locks onto the sound of Marcus falling into the rain sound. For whatever reason, the sound of running water prevents the creatures from hearing anything else, so long as the running water is louder. So again, why did they just live next to the waterfall? Well, it's certainly impossible.
double teamed when I had 4 kills.
12 hours, but I personally prefer the heft of a traditional boombox. As you might expect, there are some drawbacks with this solution too. I imagine that acquiring this number of speakers may take a very, very long time. Secondly, maintaining these speakers through rain and snow would be incredibly difficult, and even through normal use, mid-range speakers are only expected to last 1 to 3 years. At some point, maintaining and replacing these speakers would become entirely impractical, even in a world where speakers are readily available. Remember, they can't order these off Amazon, they would need to scavenge for these. Finally, they would also need to generate enough electricity to power the speakers 24/7, so they would need a lot more solar panels. On second thought, it may actually be easier to just move your house to the waterfall. But the best solution by far is much more practical than moving to the waterfall, and it needs less speakers than the speaker grid. This one trick to completing the future once and for all has existed for the last 49 years, and frankly I find it unbelievable that no one has thought of this yet. The best, most perfect solution for defeating the creatures from a quiet place is Mariah Carey.
Baby, all I want for Christmas is you. Ooh, oh, well, I hear those little bells ringing. Santa, won't you bring me the one I really need? Won't you please bring my baby to me?
Look, I know I said that the high-frequency solution seen at the end of the movie is stupid because the Abbott family stumbled onto it by accident. But there is absolutely nothing stopping the Abbott family from scientifically determining this weakness through trial and error. There is in fact a reliable way to replicate their discovery, and even without knowing that they have such a weakness, determining what volumes and what frequencies the monsters respond to is arguably important, because knowing which sounds attract them and which do not is kind of vital to your survival. If you could test which sounds they respond to, that should be your number one priority when dealing with creatures that are defined by their super gigantic and super disgusting ear holes. There are legitimate reasons for conducting these tests outside of the First, they would need to choose a test area, preferably somewhere near the farm, but not where the creatures could cause meaningful damage. Next, they would need to set up a speaker system they can control remotely by stringing the wire from the speaker at the test area to the basement of the house where the surveillance system is. Then they need to move one of their cameras to point at the testing area, attract the creatures to the testing area by playing a sound of a person yelling, and then while they're near the speaker, test different sounds at different volumes and frequencies to determine which sounds aggravate them and which sounds, if any, repel or harm them. It would not take much testing to figure out if the those made by Reagan's critical impact have a debilitating impact on creatures, causing them to retract their armor and make damage. The main problem is destroying the creatures each time you conduct the test. Realistically, there is no way to stop the creatures from destroying the speaker. If it's able to get on top of the shed as well as climb the grain silo, it's probably also capable of climbing a tree and killing the speaker. Not to mention, actually setting up the speaker each time is a risk, because you need to either bring a ladder or climb a tree each time. If you drop the speaker, well, you're in trouble. But it would be no riskier than setting up this vast array of surveillance cameras.
Suck. Okay. If I get killed by this person, I will punch this cover right here, right in front of me.
If you think that you have a better way to beat the creatures from a quiet place, or if you think the ones listed here wouldn't work, please tell me about it in the comments section below. If you'd like to support the channel in making more videos like this, check out the Patreon for a chance to win free stuff. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been the Film Herald.
If we can get 100 subscribers, that would be cool.